Welcome to another edition of Insurance Questions Podcast number 90. Oh, it's almost as old as you, Don.
I know, isn't that crazy?
But it's not insurance questions. What is it, Sarah, on Tuesdays?
Tax Questions Podcast.
What
I'm going
number?
to remember it one of these days.
What
I was
number?
about to say accounting questions. I'm like, no.
Oh, that's a new show. Coming
New
soon.
show.
What number is this for tax questions? Do you know? Because I'll tell you.
No.
I think it's 8.
8.
Hey.
So it is Tuesday, June 11th, 2024. I'm sitting here in beautiful Greenville, Texas. Sarah's in McKinney, Texas. And Donnie Lowe is polishing his gold bars in Williamsville, Amherst area of Western New York. So why don't you give him some of your money to the Catholic Church, Donnie, so they don't keep on shutting down all these churches back home.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy.
And they're bursting at the seams here. They're like building new churches all the time. It's just crazy.
Are they Catholic churches that
Yep.
they're building, or are they really?
Yep.
Wow.
Okay, we're not going to get into religion. So let me just say that all the opinions and remarks made by Eddie Buffalo, Sassy Sarah, and Donnie Lowe are purely for entertainment purposes. What do you got to say, Sarah? What do you got to say? Say your stuff.
Like, subscribe, share, follow, slap Eddie. I mean, do all the things. Well, you're the one who wants to make faces when I talk. So
I promise I'm turning over a new leaf today. I'm going to be really respectful and nice and boring like Don. I mean, like, whatever.
Thank you.
This new leaf, seriously.
You know what? I'll play on my phone because I know that you really like it when I play on my phone when
Oh my
you're trying to
goodness.
talk.
So I was trying to have a conversation with him, and he's like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, no, you didn't listen to what I said. I need you to get off the phone. I'm multitasking. No, you're not, because you didn't listen to what I said.
Yes, the sassiness is real, folks. It is not an app. The sassiness is 100%.
You know that we cannot multitask as well as the ladies do.
Oh, you're so
I used to be really good at it the younger I was. And then I had kids, and now I'm just so exhausted and like I can't do it as well.
they eat up all your brain cells.
Yes, they do.
They say
I was having a conversation with a client a little earlier. I used to read books. Like, I loved reading books, but I'm one of those, I can only read it once. I can never read it multiple times because I remember what happens in the book, and it just, anyways. I have not read a physical book, been able to sit down and read a physical book since I had my son.
Yeah.
I had to read on my phone or computer or something.
12 years ago. 12 years ago.
Yeah, he's 12. But if I had a physical book in my hand, he would crawl into my lap and put the book grab the book and put it down. And I'm like, but he won't do that if I'm on my phone or if I have a notebook or all of the things.
Funny? Wow.
Yeah. So
I don't like to read books. I don't like to read books, digitally. I'm the old-fashioned.
No, it's not the same.
See, I do because I can lay in bed at night and it's backlit, so I can read it without having to have a light on.
I get distracted, especially with it being on my phone, because then I'm like, oh, what about this? Or hey, let me check on this. Or
now, do you guys like books on tape or like? Do you guys like Audible in that, or are you against that too?
It depends.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Donnie.
I would say I'm not against it. I just don't really use it. And I have a bunch of books on CD that the car that I had at the time had a CD player. My current one does not. If I was going on a long drive, I'd bring whatever book and listen to it. But I never did the Audible thing.
Well, what's cool about it, like my girls got me into it, is that some of the books offer, especially if it's like a famous person, a lot of times it's them talking. So one of my favorite bands of all time, Rush, Geddy Lee, the bassist. I think it was last year or the year before, he put out his autobiography, My Effing Life, F-F-F-F-I-N-G Life. And he actually read it which I thought
Oh,
was
cool.
kind of interesting. So I thought everybody did that. So I bought Mike Tyson's autobiography. It's like, oh my God, I got to hear Mike Tyson talk about himself. It wasn't. It was a little disappointing because that
Yeah.
would have been really entertaining. Just saying, don't come and beat me up, Mike. I know you're not listening anyway. Oh, maybe you are. I don't know. Because it's surprising who listens to us, to be honest.
Oh yeah, and apparently Eddie has a lot of fans because everywhere he goes,
I
he
know.
meets multiple people,
Well,
and they're like, "Oh my God, are you Eddie Buffalo?"
I don't know if it was Friday or Thursday, but my girls got me an entertainment center that had to be put together, and the guy was like dying bringing it into my apartment because it was like 80 pounds, and he walks in and he looks to the left and goes, "Oh, you're a podcast?" And then he's like, "Wait, you're Eddie Buffalo, aren't you?" I go, I am. I said, "Then get out." So it is kind of weird. So I got to be extra nice to people now, I guess. Not you guys, though.
No.
No.
Yeah.
If I
Why
was
break
nice
tradition?
to people, it wouldn't be on who I am.
Why
on the
start now?
Exactly. I love it.
So what do you got for us today, Sassy Sarah?
Okay, so I have some weird tax tips because that's just going to be the thing.
Aren't you proud of
One
me? You
I
didn't
thought
say
was
anything when you said
hilarious
that? I
was
didn't
back
say
in
a thing.
1820, Missouri taxed men who were not married $1 every year. Now, think about it, 1820, that was a lot of money.
That was $1 well spent back then, right, Don? Were you in your 20s or your 30s back then, Don?
I was my late teens.
Late. Well, anyways, they charged people who were between 21 and 50 for being bachelors. That's the name of it, bachelor tax. And then other countries started doing the same thing. And of course, now it's phased out. It's not this big thing, but I just thought that was interesting. Like, oh, you need to get married because you're the man who has all the property. Go find you a wife, or you're going to have to pay. And I wonder how many men did not get married so they didn't want to have to pay, so they didn't have to pay. Or I mean, those who got married so they didn't have to pay, and those who didn't care that they had to pay. It's a toss-up.
Well,
That
it's
would be
funny
interesting.
that, a lot of things haven't gone away yet, and we don't even know it. Because another Audible book I'm listening to is called Bare Knuckle, about the bare knuckle fighter, Bobby Gunn. And I think I talked to you about this, Don, that he was explaining how his mom was from Ireland and his dad was from Scotland, and they were considered gypsies, which is like a really bad term to use. So they were called travelers. But over in Ireland, I guess still today, they have signs at restaurants and bars that it says no gypsies or travelers allowed, which is like,
I know, it's crazy.
how so many things in society change and some things change the same. What might be normal here in the States is not normal over there, or vice versa. I just thought that was kind of interesting.
That is, but I don't see what that has about anything to do about taxes.
Because he likes talking
Where
about himself
taxes?
and being the center of attention.
Okay, once again, I'm going on mute. I'm not doing my laundry. I learned my lesson last week.
Well, here's an interesting tax that I think is still on the books. It's tacked on to our phone bills. Now, I'm not 100% sure if it's still on the cell phone bills, but I know it was on the landline bills, if you still have a landline, for sure. It's a tax that was implemented during the Spanish-American War to help fund the war. And they kind of still attached it, in the future to phone bills. So
yeah, the Federal Universal Service Fund.
What is that?
There you go.
I had to Google that because I know what you're talking about, but it's like I couldn't remember the name of it. And it actually started in 2017, and it went from 12.2% to 10.8%. But of course, now
so
that
it's still on landlines.
It's also on cell phone bills.
It's on, and from 2017 on cell phones.
I ain't paying it no more. Screw that. I'm not paying that.
It's not optional.
Well,
Because when
Don,
they
why are
first
you
came
taking,
out with that, I was like, why am I being charged more tax? Like, what the heck is this? I don't want to pay more tax. No.
Don, why are you taking over Sarah's show? Oh, that's right. You like talking about yourself.
Hey, he brought up a tax tip.
Blah, blah,
Exactly.
blah. And it was so exciting to hear about, wasn't it? Super
It is,
entertaining.
because you know what happens? If you have a business or you drive Uber or Lyft and do it on the side or any other contract work, you can write off that cell phone bill as an expense. So you're not paying for it by yourself.
Can I write off my pager?
If you still have a pager,
Arc
yes.
pager.
Sure. I didn't know that. Other than off hospitals, I didn't think pagers still existed
God, that was such a
in the
big
general
thing.
population.
Mhm.
I used to have a pager.
Is that when you were selling drugs? You run or running numbers? Which one was it?
That was
Neither.
before cell phones were a big thing.
It was before cell phones were a thing.
Yeah.
I remember the pagers. When I was a kid, I had to like page somebody and they had to call me back. I'm like, oh my
When
God.
you were a little girl, right?
Well, that was a thing.
Yeah, I
you know,
can't
we had
remember
a-
how old I was. I was in my teens though. That wasn't too long ago.
you know, being in sales and visiting accounts. So we had a pager. So we get the page, we'd have to drive to a phone booth and make
Yeah.
a collect call or whatever. I don't know. how
Yeah,
we
that's
did it,
something
but-
you don't see nowadays is a phone booth. I tell
Uh,
you, I've never felt old until my daughter's graduation. Because then it's like, okay, I know she's been 18. I know I'm old. I don't care that I'm old, but it's just the fact she's graduated high school. It's like, oh crap.
Wait till she graduates from college if she goes.
She's going to go to cosmetology school. She wants to be a nail technician.
Nice.
Oh.
I always ingrained into my kids' head because I don't want them to have all the school debt, even though you can write those off in taxes. Unless they
I've
were
got an
sure.
angle.
Hey, I had to, unless they were for sure knowing what they wanted to go to. And she's very artistic. And I'm like, just find something you want that you can afford yourself. It's legal and you enjoy it. And so she picked cosmetology. I'm like, that works. I don't care.
Yeah,
And she's
absolutely.
expensive though. So I hope she makes a lot of money in cosmetology. Because yeah. So I know I brought this up before, but like medical expenses, because I'm getting a lot of clients not understanding that they can actually deduct those. And that's anything, your out-of-pocket premiums that you have to pay, hospital visits, the copay at the doctor, prescriptions. And if it's not, let's say you don't really have a lot of out-of-pocket medical expenses, that's fine. My suggestion is always give everything to your accountant or whoever prepares your taxes and let them decide what's used or not used. I have funny story. I had this one client give me a holiday decorative box. You know, those large ones that usually come with multiple boxes inside.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah, no, she took the largest one and put all mail, all bills, everything paid throughout the year and handed
Merry
it
Christmas.
I probably only needed like 10%, if that. But I had to go through everything. And it's like, she just wanted to make sure she captured everything. It's like, okay.
And she did.
And she did. Yes.
And then you informed her
Yeah.
next year, I'm not taking all these papers.
Oh,
No.
yeah, no, because I only scan in what I need. And to me, it's like, I would rather my clients hand me everything and I take the extra time on their return to do it. We have some other clients where we reworking a few of their taxes from last year. That's going to save them a lot of money and get them a large refund and change how everything goes. So I always suggest if you haven't had taxes done, then you get always get a second opinion. Like you can have somebody else do it and be, hey, I just want to make sure these are done correctly. I'm maximizing everything. Or I've had, because I've acquired a business in January. So I have a lot of people who come and say, well, he didn't tell me all this stuff. Or I notice something's not on the return and I ask about it. So it's one of those of if you don't feel like you're being heard by your current person, it's okay to talk to somebody else, even if you've been with them for 15, 20, 40 years, because
No, that's
eventually
true.
people get complacent and you want to make sure that you have the best representation.
Or if you call that person, they never return your phone calls and you're
Oh,
not
don't
sure
say
exactly
that
why.
because I've gotten behind on all my phone calls because I don't say that. Yeah, so I would say if communication isn't that great, or but realistically speaking, I have some clients that they'll call me and then 2-3 hours later they call me again, and 2-3 hours later they call me again. But it's like, okay, one, I'm in meetings like back to back some days, can't return your call. Or they'll call me on a Friday at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, and then call me again at Monday at 8 o'clock. Well, we're Monday through Thursday, 9 to 3. I'll call clients back or respond to emails if it's urgent, but those are the office hours so that I can structure my work and time block, and my employees can have a work-life balance and all the things.
Maybe they just really like your sparkling personality or are looking for a new
Maybe because
friend.
I am awesome. I am awesome.
Before we went on, you were talking a little bit about being able to write off your pets. What did you mean by that?
So it depends on the type. The IRS is really strict on their
If
rules.
it's a small dog, no. If it's a big dog, yes.
No, it goes into even more detail. For example, like my son, we wanted to get him a service dog. And of course, paying all this money to find out she has hip dysplasia, she can't be a service dog. Oh well, she's his baby.
So you shot the dog then, Sarah? You're
Old
like that
Yeller.
one politician.
Oh, no.
I mean, some days. No,
I told
she's
you
a
I'll take that
sweetheart.
baby if you don't want her anymore. I'll take that girl.
I know, but they have such a good bond. And when we first got her, I forced him to bond with her. Like he was the only one feeding her, playing with her, petting her, bathing her, because she was going to be a service dog. So I wanted that bond to be really strong.
Yeah.
So it would actually hurt them both. If like now he's at camp, every time she's out of the kennel, she's looking for him. So it is
That's
what it
nice.
is. Anyways, you can write off like service dogs. You cannot write off emotional support animals. I know that.
What's the difference?
So emotional support dogs are just there for someone to love on them, to help them through emotional times. A service dog actually
need one
goes
of
through
those.
training that identifies medical issues. So for example, if someone has a heart condition and they can pass out easy and their heart rate raises, that animal will tell them that they need to sit down immediately or they're going to pass out. It's not really regulated. They don't have a certificate, but you can it always frustrates me because I've seen people with service dog vest and the dog is barking, lunging at people, or just smelling everything and totally distracted. If it's a service dog, it's going to stay by its owner. It's not going to be looking anywhere. And it's only going to be focused on their owner. And then don't pet the dog. Don't pet the dog. It's working. Anyway, so you have that. And then you also, you can write off like medical expenses, like taking them to the vet, getting
I never knew that.
I know.
Yes. And then if you have like, let's say a warehouse, I'm trying to think, I've heard of warehouses with
Like German Shepherds or something?
or food or something else, that they have cats that try to keep the rat population at bay. They could actually deduct a lot of expenses for those cats.
That's
That's
crazy.
interesting. I know.
That's
I mean, it happens. Animals are going to go where the food is.
So let's say you have a service dog and you
Mhm.
want to get pet insurance for the service dog. Can you write that off as an expense?
You can write that off just because especially when it comes to pet insurance, it's similar to people. Like it's an expense that you're putting into the animal. So if something bad happens, you don't have to pay a major expense later. And then something else is, let's say you own a junkyard and you have a guard dog where they're specifically raised and trained to be a guard dog. You can write off the guard dog. You
That's
cannot say,
know.
hey, I have a home office. Here's my dog, Rudolph.
Guarded
He's my
your
guard
Why
door.
dog.
Rudolph?
I don't know. I was trying to think of
Are
the
you in a
Pippin was
Christmassy
coming up,
mood?
and
Because I
I'm
said
just like, I don't want to use
Christmas.
Pippin. Like,
Fido.
anyways, Rudolph. You can even give him a red nose. Like, I don't care. Anyway,
Oh, he's a drunk. He's a drinker, that dog. Yeah.
maybe. You can't really use him as a guard dog because he's not just a guard dog. Like, it's not 100% of the time. So you got to be careful with the animal expenses. There are a few more that you can do, but I always say talk to a professional, tell them the situation and what you're trying to do. Don't just think, because there are people who think, depending on the type of business they have, they never have to eat out ever on their own personal dime. They run everything through the business.
Mhm.
And if the IRS saw that, a lot of it will be disallowed because the IRS expects you to eat outside of your business.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So like,
Yeah, but you could take clients out for dinner and just document their names and etc.
Yes, you can do that. I've heard a lot of people say, oh, well, I'll just give my bank statement or my credit card statement to the IRS. But the problem is if you're being audited and that's all you can provide, that just gives them more ability to expand the audit because you have to provide everything, not just that one, hey, this is the charge.
How about strip clubs? Can you write that off, Sarah?
What business would that be a business expense? And you can't just say the chicken wings are good during
Because
lunch.
the chicken wings were good. Yes.
Well, if you're the owner of the strip club, then you can. That's a business. So.
Well, no, if you go there for meals and you can prove you took clients there and it was just for the chicken wings, but to my knowledge, you cannot expense any dances because that would be considered entertainment, which the IRS took. You know, that's probably why they freaking took it away is because of people like Eddie. They took away you being able to do entertainment for clients, such as sporting events. Those
Sporting
are no longer
events.
deductible.
What?
People used to like buy tickets to sporting events and
Oh
give
my
them
God,
to
I thought you
clients.
said hoarding. I'm like, what are they hoarding? I don't get. I never even
Again,
heard of that.
that was because you were multitasking between drinking your water
Drinking
bottle.
water.
I guess, but
Trying
you
to be
had to
hydrated.
think,
You wait.
I
You say
need to
y'all don't want to be hydrated in Texas. Why you always gotta make it about you, Sarah? Why you always gotta do that?
Oh, whatever. Anyways, which is something interesting or something for people who, like I mentioned earlier, contractors. If you're driving for Uber, Lyft, or doing any side work, if you eat while you're driving in between people or dropping off food or whatever, don't eat the person's food who ordered it. Like order your own food.
You know, it's funny you say this because I know a guy that he did Grubhub, Uber, and he did day trading. And a lot of times drunk people would order stuff. And you'd go to their house and they either don't answer the phone or I never ordered anything. So he would just take all his food home all the time. You know what I mean?
Oh, well, okay then.
So can you write that off?
I mean, he got free food, so I guess that was his tip.
I guess.
But no, so basically it's if they eat while they're on the job, they can write those off. I always suggest if you're doing things like that, if you don't have a business created, get a separate credit card that you're only using for those expenses. That's going to be
Makes
helpful
sense.
when.
Makes sense.
Yeah. That way it's separated. You don't have to worry about which one's personal, which one's business, and go through all these different things. I always suggest another option is there's accounting systems out there that you can get to track all that as well. Because one thing with contractors, even though they're supposed to send your 1099 report that shows how much income you made, not a lot of places do it, but you're still required to report it to the IRS.
And you enjoy using QuickBooks, right?
Don't say that.
That's like
QuickBooks
a bad
is
word,
a
Sarah.
decent, usable tool.
Why you calling me a tool, Sarah? That ain't nice.
Because you are.
What about Fetch with all my receipts that I do for my daughters and send them the gift cards?
No, like the main reason I have an issue with QuickBooks, one, I think the amount that they're charging is astronomical. They do have a lot of features that some companies need and find useful, but they've also acquired multiple companies into them and then took over the software to, for example, running payroll, but it isn't correct. It isn't sufficient for if you run a payroll wrong. There was a point where you had to reach out to QuickBooks to delete the payroll so you could fix it. And it's like, I should be able to manage everything from the accounting system. I shouldn't have to reach out to the accounting software people to fix something. And granted, that was a few years ago and they fixed it. But it's just the fact of a lot of their issues are like that. Or you'll be asking questions and the person doesn't know because they're hiring the person for $12 an hour instead of an actual accountant at $30 an hour who knows what they're talking about. Sitting there trying to explain, this is the issue, this is what we need to do. And they're like, oh, I have to run through my list to go through.
Well, kind of like goes the old saying, you get what you pay for.
Yeah.
Yes. But with the prices that they charge, I'm one of those of, I'm not getting what I'm paying for. And neither are the clients.
Yeah.
A lot of, though, solutions that some accounting firms have done is they're just outsourcing everything to the Philippines to not have to deal with it. That's something to look into as well. It's a dirty little secret that not a lot of people are talking about. There's a lot of firms that are outsourcing everything to other countries. And
for taxes?
Taxes, accounting.
That's insane. That's crazy.
I know.
But that's how they keep their costs low. And I've over the past few years, it's becoming even more of an issue because a lot of people don't want to work or learn.
That's
like
crazy.
There's some firms that are I'm willing to train, but you have to be trainable.
Yeah.
Eddie hears about all my issues with people, but yeah, that's
I am so lucky. Yes, I get
so
to hear.
lucky. But it's like, with AI being a big thing, people think, oh, accounting can just be done with AI. No, it can't. There are lots of softwares that have implemented AI technology to do the accounting, but because it's so nuanced, AI cannot take over fully. There's always going to have to be somebody there double checking, moving things if it's not correct. Like, it's a whole lot of work.
And now, I mean, AI is cool. You guys know how much I like it with the company we're trying to work with. But like Google had an issue because their AI was telling people to put like glue in like cake mix.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Really?
not glue. It was laundry detergent.
Oh my God. What's
like,
worse?
It's like, what? What? Instead of using flour, it's acceptable to use blah, blah, blah. I'm like, whoa.
Again, AI works for some things,
Yes.
but you always have to have someone there checking. The problem is, okay, you have to think of everything that has a warning label. It's there because someone was stupid enough to do what they said not to do.
Somebody got sued.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't put your curling iron next to a tub or a sink. Be careful when you grab it.
Shocking.
It's hot. Like, yeah, no, it's
She just got it.
My kids
Took her a
there's
bit.
stupid
Took her
people
a
in the
bit.
world.
Look, that light bulb went off.
It was a delayed reaction.
Ching. Why you always gotta make it about yourself, Sarah? Why you always gotta make it all about yourself?
Whatever.
So are we
But
done?
yeah, anyway.
Or do you got any more? Or are we done?
I can try to find more if you want to know
No,
more.
we're good.
Here's one because it goes with my tattoo.
We're so close, Don, getting our
Arkansas charges a sales tax on tattoos.
On what?
Arkansas?
Yeah, but what do they charge on?
Sales tax on tattoos.
What?
2002.
Yeah, I'm sure your tattoo guys are gonna say, "Oh, we gotta collect the tax on that." That ain't happening. Like, I ain't even using Arkansas voice, so I don't even know what that is. It would even sound like. Did you notice I didn't even use my Texas voice once today because I'm trying to be good.
I appreciate.
You did use
well,
it.
let me rephrase that. I appreciate that you did not use the Texas voice for Arkansas. That's two separate voices.
What?
And I refuse
she just
to
pokes
accept
the bear.
Arkansas as
Poke, poke, poke. Poke Eddie. Poke him. Poke him.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
just like trying to
Where's
use
my fire poker?
our Buffalo
Mhm.
accent with somebody from Boston or
Should be
Maine or
like,
something.
what? I remember when I first moved to Boston and the job I had, we were on radios. And I'm like, I don't know what this guy's saying. You know, I go, excuse me, but I don't understand your accent. Accent, kid, you're the one with the accent. Don't tell me I got an accent. You're the one with the accent. All of us sound like me. I'm like,
Get back in your car, will you?
that's a good point, sir. That really is. You
All
know.
of us sound like me. I mean, that valid. You're the one who went there.
Yes, yes. So, all right, we're done. We're done. It's been a wonderful text question podcast. We did make it all about Sarah and Donnie, just so we know we get that on the record right now. Yeah, because I like kicking that dead horse just like Sarah does. So we're gonna end the show like we always do. If you enjoy working with people that are just like you, we're the people to see. You can reach us at www.ebiagency.com, 716-306-2020. And to get a hold of the wonderful Sassy Sarah and her bubbly personality, you can go to the partner tab, click down to McCutcheon Advisory, and Sarah can help you with everything you need because as we learned today, not one size fits all when it comes to taxes or insurance, actually.
No.
And that's
right.
it.
And my website got fixed. It was down last week.
Yeah, what did you figure out what was wrong with that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, we won't go into that. So, until we see you again, tune in tomorrow for Insurance Questions Podcast. And I think that's a good show to talk about. Not one size fits all, Donnie. I think
There
that's
you go.
what we're talking
Perfect.
about. So if you do have any questions, make sure you send them in to us. And until we meet again, stay safe, everybody. Take care. Bye.
Ciao.